Unfortunately, you have two deans in one session, so I don't know who planned that, but thanks, Ben. I'm so I have to just comment on the students because there was so much planning and anxiety that went into having the children come join us, and they they just were so remarkable. And I have to thank my friend who's across the way, Anna, from the Alana Foundation for helping to make it happen. Because really, without your partnership, thank you. And to the rest of you, you are the marathon runners. We are all here at the very, very end, and I thank you. I've always dreamt of running a marathon. I didn't realize it would be here in Vatican City. So it is truly a privilege to be in this space and to address this diverse and engaged audience on a subject of critical importance to the future in a paper that I've titled No Child Left Inside: Progressive Transformative Education as a Catalyst for Climate Change. And of course, our fellow Americans get the reference there. As we've all talked about, we stand at a crossroads in our journey as people and a planet as we face threats of climate change. This complex global emergency calls for innovative solutions and collective action, as we've all talked about over the last several days. And amongst the most powerful tools to address this crisis is education. I join the chorus of voices at this summit to do things differently. We must shift our educational approaches and systems so that every child actively addresses the climate crisis in and out of her classroom. The urgency for action has never been more unmistakable. The warming is evident everywhere we go, and if we do not take substantial action now, the consequences will be dire and irreversible. We must heed these warnings and see them not just as forecasts for doom, but a call to action, a catalyst for change through progressive, transformative education. Such an agenda actively engages students in developing and implementing solutions, whether new technologies, effective policies, or sustainable business models, and it is possible today. To achieve this, we first need a radical redesign of education so that it centers a singular focus: the impact of climate change on the environment, economies, and communities. Indeed, every subject can be taught through this lens. This educational model must focus not just on the what, but the how. What is taught will change as we learn more. How we teach, the pedagogical force we use in solving the climate crisis, is essential. Our linear, standardized approach to education is insufficient for solving the climate crisis. A swift shift toward a model of education that fosters a generation of informed citizens who think critically and act creatively, equipped with the knowledge, skills, and ethical frameworks, is necessary to save the planet. The UN and other agencies play a pivotal role in shaping the global response to climate change, including education. Several UN policies and programs target climate change education and are designed to foster an understanding of science and the necessary actions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Some of what I argue for today is embedded throughout that vital work. The focus of this talk came when I served on the selection committee for UCLA's Common Experience theme for last academic year, and it carried through this academic year because it was of such great interest. And it provides an intellectual space for shared engagement and dialogue across students, faculty, and staff. That's what the Common Experience is intended to do. It kind of grew out of the one book. In identifying the theme, I asked about 50 undergraduate students on what we call the Hill, that's our resident halls, what they cared about most and why it would be important to incoming students. There was consensus And the answer was climate change. UCLA students have the privilege of learning from some of the most noted climate scientists in the world, with the exception, of course, of our colleague from UC San Diego. So what did the students I interviewed want to discuss and know more about? It was, without question, what they could do right now to help. They don't have the tools to connect science to tangible action, and they struggle to connect what they understand as solutions to climate-related issues to real-world problems. So when I asked them how we might best cool the residence hall, one of the original residence halls on the Hill, Sproul Hall, that we were meeting in, how might we cool this? Keep in mind it's a 10-story building, because I think that matters. The response was HVAC, a chilled water system, geothermal solution. But none said plant more trees. Most of our UCLA students come to the campus from California schools. As someone deeply engaged in California's public education, I knew what I heard was more of a reflection of how we teach and less about what we teach. The pedagogical frameworks for changing this are well known to education, but not consistently well used, and yet would support what I call a progressive, transformative approach centered on solving the myriad impacts of climate change. John Dewey was a pivotal figure in the progressive education movement in the early 20th century. Dewey's ideas are centered on the belief that education should not merely transfer knowledge, but enable active learning through direct experience and interaction. His contributions to education theory also include the concept of continuity of experience, where each learning experience builds upon the one before it and prepares for the next, creating a coherent body of knowledge and skills relevant to the real world. He argued that education should reflect each child's developmental and cognitive needs and experiences and be connected to the community and societal reform. His work at the University of Chicago, where he established the laboratory school, was central to testing his educational theories. We at UCLA have what I consider to be the last best articulation of Dewey's lab schools. And they are an emerging model for climate-centered education for children ages 4 to 12 in Los Angeles, and you met 2 of those students here today. Transformative education also challenges traditional education as a passive knowledge transfer from teacher to student. It emphasizes critical pedagogy, where students are encouraged to question and challenge societal norms and think independently, learners that co-create knowledge. This approach fundamentally shifts the educational paradigm to one that emphasizes critical thinking, problem solving, dialogue, allowing learners to question and transform their worlds. If our goal in education is to shape learners into active change agents who can solve the climate crisis, then central to our work is doing what these models reason to be good education, developing children's critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and advocacy skills so we have a global community of children like the delegation you met here today. 2, disciplines and fields must be positioned to cross boundaries, reflecting the interconnected nature of real-world climate problems and a fundamental understanding of complex ecological, economic, social, and technical systems. And in those technical systems, we must integrate AI. When a small group of education school deans from US universities met last month to discuss our foremost issues, one dean said, I'll ask you to guess what university he was from later, "It's all AI all of the time." A compelling use of AI, it can tailor educational content to students' individual learning styles and paces, thus providing personalized learning paths. It can also simulate complex climate change scenarios, enabling students to visualize the disparate impact of environmental changes on the planet. In addition to understanding the multifaceted aspects of climate change, we must cultivate a greater personal connection to the crisis and a more substantial commitment to acting upon it by having children reflect deeply on the impact of human action on the environment. 1 week ago, we held the first Children's Nature-Based Education Summit with the Alana Foundation and the International Union for Conservation of Nature Commission on Education and Communication. Although not new, nature-based education is a powerful example of a progressive, transformative approach. Nature-based education is immersive. It integrates outdoor learning experiences, environmental stewardship, and sustainability practices, emphasizing the interdependence between human beings and nature. By engaging students in real-world contexts such as forests, rivers, community gardens, nature-based education fosters a deeper understanding and appreciation for the natural environment. Planting trees, monitoring local wildlife, and studying water quality helps students understand complex ecological processes and the effects of climate change on various ecosystems. This connection is crucial in cultivating a sense of responsibility and urgency concerning climate change, as it allows students to witness firsthand the impacts of environmental degradation and the importance of biodiversity. Furthermore, nature-based education has a profound impact on improving mental health and physical health, reduces stress, enhances mood and emotional well-being, and these positive effects support a more engaged and energetic learning environment conducive to deeper learning and retention. It also centers the knowledge, beliefs, and values of Indigenous peoples, thus promoting respect, justice, and equity of experience, voice, faiths, and positionality. Nature-based education will cultivate more nature-based solutions. In concert with transforming our classrooms, we must also address the educational system. A progressive, transformative educational system questions the cultural, governance, and economical structures contributing to environmental degradation and advocates for policies to protect the environment. It is fundamentally intersegmental, interdisciplinary, experiential, experimental, child-centered, and globally angled. University-assisted community schools, a horizontal reform effort that leverages higher education resources to enhance K-12 schooling, are perfectly positioned to enact such systems transformation. These mutual partnerships aim to enrich the educational experiences of K-12 students, support educators, and foster community engagement. They also serve as practical training grounds for university students and research sites for our faculty. Community schools are hubs of integrating academics with health and social, community development and engagement to support students and their families. They partner with local businesses, government agencies, and NGOs to learn from and contribute to community-based efforts. This is how you make resilience child-centered and hyper-local. Schools should also be models for sustainable practices, such as using solar power, implementing zero waste policies, and maintaining school gardens that provide produce for school meals. This is known as the greening of our schools, many of you may know, and these practices serve as daily living examples to students of how sustainability principles are integrated into everyday life. AI can also connect classrooms from around the world, facilitating global learning, enhancing students' learning experiences, and fostering a sense of global citizenship. Schools must also be prepared to receive and educate our climate refugees. As we reshuffle the world's population because of the climate, areas that receive an influx of migrants face challenges in providing adequate education and other essential services. Here again, a progressive transformative model maintains cultural and regional communities, is best prepared to engage learners who've experienced the trauma of migration and as second language learners. In sum, a paradigm shift is necessary to empower this and future generations to make meaningful and effective action against climate change. We must foster an informed, committed, and proactive citizenry capable of leading global sustainability efforts. Progressive transformative education is essential to worldwide survival and prosperity as we address environmental challenges. In my final minute, let's visualize the university-assisted green community school, surrounded by native plants and sponge ecosystems. Children, their teachers, and university partners manage local regenerative farms and water bodies with the community. Students identify climate-related problems to address over a year or two with community input. Those problems are examined locally and worldwide through technologies connecting children with other learners, teachers, and communities struggling with similar environmental impact. A set of actions informed by the scientists and social scientists from the university are tested. Teachers work in professional learning communities supported by professional development provided by the university to infuse state math and language arts standards into their project-based initiatives. Language requirements are met through reading and writing and conversing with global school partners. Teachers and students, with support from researchers, collect formative data to adjust their actions to better achieve the project's outcomes. At the end of the academic year, using outcome data, students from each school present their findings to their community and international audiences with local and global policy recommendations. If their outcomes are positive, a guide for implementation is developed and shared using various communication strategies, which have also been evaluated for impact. Some then spend their summer months showcasing their work with community organizations and NGOs. Others partner with university students and faculty to disseminate their new knowledge to the academic community. This is not a fantasy. This model can be fully articulated in cities throughout the world today. We can address the paralysis felt by those UCLA students. We have a way. In California, for example, the governor has made substantial investments in community schools, K-12 leadership development reforms in teacher education, a whole child approach to learning, and more. A local level chief of climate education can coordinate these investments and work with their climate action colleagues from across districts to innovate, share knowledge, and successfully implement strategies. What we know now is what we need. We need the will, as our children shared with us, the will to move forward, the will to be bold and accept nothing less than a radical redesign of education that commits to no child left inside. Thank you.